You are now listening to the Going North podcast, where you'll receive tips and techniques to advance yourself. I'm your host, Dom Brightman, and every week we're going to be hearing from an author who's going to share their expertise to help you charge forward in life. On a quick side note, be sure to check out Going North the book. It's available in ebook, audio, as well as paperback form for those who love to read a traditional book. Now let's get on with the show. And today on the Going North podcast, we got one heck of a guest for you today because it's another author. But this author is a serial entrepreneur as well, because not only she writes books, she also edits them. She's also a fellow podcast host and a business coach. And she just celebrated 10 years of being self-employed successfully, y'all, successfully. So a decade of dollars to make you holla. And you're probably wondering who this wonderful guest I got on the show today. It is the one, the only Pamela Hilliard Owens. How are you today, ma'am?
I am just fine. Thank you so much for having me.
Woo! Glad to have you on. Glad to have you on. Yeah, looking at your resumes and everything online, you have one heck of a story. So mind telling us a bit about yourself and how you got started in the business?
Okay, thank you so much. Well, I never started out to be an entrepreneur. I knew, as English is my favorite subject, and I knew in second grade I wanted to be an English teacher. And so I went through school, got my degree from Eastern Michigan University in education and in special education for the visually impaired, because I was highly influenced by the wonderful Helen Keller. And so I had a dual degree for my bachelor's degree, and then I went on and got my master's degree in English language arts and psychology and curriculum. So, and then I went into the school system, taught in several different school systems, taught and was a language arts consultant, and taught at various colleges and universities around Detroit, where I'm from. And then a while later, I somehow got into sales, into corporate sales. I guess it was kind of time for me to leave education for a while. And in the Sunday papers, a company out of D.C. was looking for someone in the Detroit area who had sales experience and education experience. That was right up my alley. So I applied on Monday, got hired on Friday, started the next Monday, and did very, very well in corporate consultative sales. Did that for a while. And then I went into different kinds of sales. I had territories all over the country. And then in 2008, let me back up. Working for different corporations, it was during one of those times when there were a lot of, if you can remember, a lot of downsizing, corporate downsizing. And I was a victim of corporate downsizing 4 times in 6 years.
Wow.
And that was not fun. And that's when I decided, maybe I should try being my own boss. So I would not downsize myself. And it took a while for me to get it together, but in 2008, I decided I never wanted to work for anyone else again. And my daughter had a similar consulting business. She's a poet and a spoken word artist, and now she's a professor. But she had a similar business consulting with different artists. And so we were at Purdue. My nephew was graduating from Purdue, and we stayed at a hotel room, and we sat on the bed, and she said, "Mom, you can do this." And so we outlined, this was in May of 2008. We outlined what we were going to do. In June of 2008, I sat in front of the computer for the entire month and taught myself how to go into business. Because being a writer or an editor or even an educator and actually having a business are 2 completely different things. So then I opened up my doors in July of 2008. Now, it never occurred to me that that was in the middle of the Great Recession. I mean, that didn't even cross my mind. I just knew I wanted to have my own business. And so I opened in July of 2008. In September of 2008, a young man contacted me via my website from England. He's actually from Qatar, the smallest Middle Eastern country, but he was in England getting his PhD. He had been speaking English for 3 years, and he needed a native English speaker. So I opened my doors in July. In September, I got my first international client and from overseas, and the next thing I know, I'm a global enterprise. And so it kept expanding from there. That's how I got started.
That is awesome right there. That is awesome. So it only took 2 months to get a client overseas, huh?
Oh, yeah, and then it just grew from there. I not only did I have a lot of clients from the Middle East who were studying in England. I had a whole group of them. But then I got clients from Australia and New Zealand and Japan and Thailand, not mainly, all through social media marketing. So I grew to, after the first few years, I had clients from 15 different countries, and that's a lot of fun, working with clients from different countries. And I work, of course, primarily locally here in Detroit, and I have clients all over Detroit, Michigan, United States and Canada, and 15 countries around the world.
Sweet. That is awesome. So how do you balance all of that, or at least keep enough of those plates balanced, per se? Because that's a lot of work, I imagine.
Yeah, well, it is a lot of work, but everything is a lot of work, whether you are local and have a retail store or whether you are entrepreneurial. And, of course, with my writing and editing and consulting business, it's primarily online. So I don't have to have regular hours. I pretty much have regular business hours Monday through Friday. I try not to work weekends if I can, except when I was working in the Middle East with a lot of clients from the Middle East. Their weekend is Friday and Saturday. And whereas our weekend is Saturday and Sunday, so I had to adjust that way because of their week was different from ours. And when I had a whole group from that area, then I just adjusted accordingly. But other than that, it's just a matter, number one, of having your systems in place. I work primarily with different apps of all kinds and having everything in place. I have wonderful contractors. I don't have any employees, but I do have contractors who help me. I have a web mistress now. I had a webmaster, and I have people who are help me with the administrative side of it, and I have people who help me with the writing. So when you get all those things together, and it does not happen overnight, you just have to keep on trying until you get the right mix. And that's how I, get everything done. And the fact that because I can do everything by computer, they call me the gadget girl because I have 3 MacBooks, 3 iPads, and 2 iPhones. So wherever I am, I can get some work done.
Wow. So talk about multiple apples of Eden, huh?
Right, exactly.
Gadget girl swag. Well, that is amazing indeed. So what keeps you motivated to just keep pushing it forward? Because with handling all those clients, especially over the years, there's probably going to be a time where you may get too comfortable, or there may be a time where a system may not work at one point, then you have to adjust it. So what keeps you motivated?
What keeps me motivated is that, let me see, I can go online and look at my bank balance. That keeps me motivated. But also when you do something that you really, really love to do, and I know that's an old cliche, but it really is not work. And when you can do something that is all your own, when you can set your own schedule, because if I decide that I don't want to, actually now, about 6 years ago, I moved from my house, which is a very big house, but I was there with my husband, of course, but I was there in the house, and sometimes I didn't leave the house for 3 and 4 days at a time. I wanted to come out and get some networking, some personal networking, and work with some people around me. So I joined a very, very wonderful co-working community here in Detroit called the Green Garage, and I've been here almost 6 years. It'll be 6 years next month, so it gives you a chance to have a place to meet clients, do some networking, have some camaraderie with other people. So when I moved to the Green Garage, I have my office here, but I also have a home office. So I have a choice. Here in Detroit, sometimes in the wintertime, you do not want to get out in that snow and ice, and I don't have to. I can work from home. I'm a very, very, very early riser. So that helps me I can get a lot done early in the morning. I'm talking about 5 o'clock in the morning because I've always been an early riser. And then I can leave later on because I can set my own schedule. I don't have to be anywhere unless I have meetings or appointments. I don't have to be anywhere at a particular time. So that motivates me because I never want to have another job where I have to answer to another boss or be somewhere at a specific time and stay there no matter what. Don't want to do that anymore. So that's motivating.
There you go. There you go. Very true indeed right there. And that's one of the most powerful things ever, when you have that time freedom and the schedule freedom, be able to do whatever you want, do what's best for your business, not having to be at other places or just having that side hustle income. It's like this is basically your whole life here. You actually have that freedom. That's an amazing thing.
Right.
So with writing your own books, what inspired you to actually finally publish your first one, and actually even got more to come even?
Yes, we do. Well, my husband is a writer. He's a published writer. You know, my second business is my own publishing company, Detroit Ink Publishing. So my husband has published several books, and of course through Detroit Ink Publishing, I publish books for my clients. And my daughter is a published author. She's a poet, and she's published 6 books on her own. And another person really who started, one of my number one online mentors who was mentioned in the book, he wrote a LinkedIn article about his first 10 years. And he started 1 year before I did, and that's what gave me the idea of the 10 years. So that's what gave me the idea to think about my last 10 years. And then the title, It Takes 10 Years to Become an Overnight Success, just came to me. And then it was because it was 10 years, it was very easy to break up every chapter into a year. And then from there, I did it that way because in my business coaching, I work with so many people. So every chapter is almost in the exact same format, and it has a title depending on what I thought went on that particular year. Then it talks about what happened that year and what I learned that year and what other people can learn from my experiences that year, from when I started with one. If you had seen my poor little website that I designed myself 10 years ago, you wonder how I ever got these clients. From that one little static one-page website that I designed myself, and I am not a designer, to where I am now with three companies and a podcast and all of that. So I talk about that and how it grew and the ups and the downs. As you know, being in business for yourself is not all wine and roses. There's a lot of ups and downs, and so I talk about that, but also the successes. So that's how I came to it.
Amen to that indeed. So what trials did you have to overcome to get to the 10 years and counting? That's probably the part I forgot at the end, counting, because I already know you're going to keep going to the moon. So
That's right. Well, the obstacles are the same obstacles everybody runs into. Making sure that you have enough clients, making sure that you do the work that your clients want you to do, which brings you more clients, doing a lot of the networking. And when you are a solo professional like I am, or creative professional, even though I have contractors, number one, it's hard to find the right contractor. Just like people say it's hard to find the right employee, it's also hard to find the right contractor. So you have to pick it, try that out. You have to try out the app that you're going to use. And the number one thing is the best thing and the worst thing about being a business for yourself. The best thing is that everything is on you. The worst thing is that everything is on you. The best thing is that you get paid what you're worth. The worst thing is that you don't have a stable income. So, and it's funny because I tell the cell phone company asks me every month, would you like an automatic deduction? No, because I don't have money that comes in on a specific date. So you're always finagling and all of that kind of thing to make sure everything is covered. So those are the most obstacles, just making sure everything works and everything just goes together. Well, I just came back from vacation in California, and one of my LinkedIn articles that's going up today is how to plan for a vacation when you are a freelancer. When you do not get a paid vacation like a lot of people do, you have to plan for it ahead of time. So those kinds of things. And so there's good things and bad things. The number one thing is freedom. The freedom to do what you want when you want to do it, especially if you are not tied down to a specific place.
Oh, yeah. Kind of reminds me of a past guest who mentioned how sometimes freedom can get you stupid real quick if you're not careful.
Exactly. But but most people who go into business or become freelancers have had the experience of working for others. before they took the leap into freelancing or into business ownership. And so if you go back and remember how hard you worked for someone else, work that hard or harder for yourself, and things will fall into place. Because when you worked for someone else, they got the profits, they got all the glory a lot of times, and you got a paycheck, and that was great. And a paycheck, and if you were really lucky, you got benefits, and that's great. But remember, you are there 40 or 50 hours a week no matter what, and so why not 40 or 50 hours for yourself?
There you go, because there's going to be at least 100 left in a week after all those 40
exactly.
hours.
Exactly. Exactly. There's 168 hours in a week, so you can dedicate 40 or 50 to your business at least.
So any advice for those who are looking to start their business as well? Because it's really amazing that you actually just made that transition from teacher into sales and to just start the business.
Well, my number one advice would be to look at your present skills and experience and see how that matches up with what you want to do. That would be, because I was an English teacher, because I'm so good at English and I've done writing and taught writing and editing before, it was a very natural progression for me to go into a writing and editing business, which was my first business. That was the actual skills that I needed. I got from being an English teacher, a writer, an editor, and then also being in sales. And because I've been in sales before, I run into a lot of people in my coaching and in different groups on Facebook and LinkedIn who are afraid to go out and network and afraid to go out and approach people because they don't have the sales background. And I think it was a big benefit for me to have had the sales background because I am not afraid. I know that it's a numbers game. And I tell people what I was taught, one of the favorite things that I was taught when I was in direct sales is to get a brand new pack of playing cards, take out the jokers, and shuffle the cards really well. And then the ace, there's 4 aces, those are actual signed contracts. The face cards are actual sales that people who have said, okay, I will meet with you to get to the point of the contract. And then the number cards are all the people that, you have to make so many calls and so many appointments. So you shuffle the pack of cards very well, then you start turning them over. And one's a number card, that's a no. Another one's a number card. You might have 5 number cards in a row. Then all of a sudden you have a face card. Yay, an appointment! and then you turn over a few more. There's a few more no's, a few more face cards, and then finally you get the ace. You've got a contract. But remember, in a pack of 52 cards, there's only 4 aces. So you have to go through all of those other 48 cards, for all of those no's, then maybe get the appointment before you finally get the contract. And when you do that, you realize how much that it's a numbers game and how much work you have to do to get to the contract. It's not the thing that if you build it, it will, they will come, like in Field of Dreams. You have to build it and then work for it to make them come to you.
That is amazing with the deck of cards analogy. It's kind of amazing how a deck of cards is more than just like a game per se.
Exactly.
The actual cards itself. That's actually the first time I've heard someone use a deck of cards from a business analogy. The only other time I heard about the deck of cards is with Ray Lewis when he was just talking about doing push-ups with them.
Right, exactly. But I use that analogy, and I use that with my clients, especially the ones who have not had a sales background, to let them know that you can't get to yes until you get to the no's. And you're going to get many, many more no's than you're going to get yeses. So the pack of cards in that exercise is just a visual to let people know, just keep on going. Because you keep turning over those cards, you keep getting those no's, you will eventually get one of those face cards, which is a yes for an appointment, which will eventually lead to one of those aces, which is the actual contract.
Woohoo! Woohoo, indeed. That is genius right there. So in addition to your book, I'm pretty sure there have been other books that have inspired you to write yours. So mind sharing a title or two that have really inspired you?
The number one book in business, I should say, is by my online mentor I told you about, Ed Gandia. He and his colleague, Steve Slonswhite, wrote a book in 2009, I believe it was, called The Wealthy Freelancer. And that book is still available on Amazon, but that is the book that turned my business around because when I started, I was really undercharging. And when I read The Wealthy Freelancer and then some other books very similar to that, that allowed me to Remember that I charge based on my value, not based on the hours that I work, not based on what everybody else does, but on my value. And I immediately doubled my prices, my fees. My husband had a conniption. You could see the beads of sweat on his forehead. But once I doubled my prices, my fees to reflect my value, that's when my business really, really took off. Because there's a problem. People think, well, if I charge the least, I'll get a lot of work. No, if you charge the least, you get the least desirable clients. Take my word for it. When you charge what you are worth, then you get a higher level of client. And that's something that I work on all the time, and I work with my clients on all the time, on get the client that you want, not just anybody out there with a checkbook and a pulse.
The any client will do grace, right?
Right. Exactly.
Oh, man. So if you were to wake up tomorrow and you were 25 again in the current year of 2018, but you get to keep all your knowledge and experience, what advice would you give to yourself?
To do what I'm doing now and not be afraid to go out on my own. I would use that experience to use the energy, the extra energy that I would have at age 25, to go ahead and do what I'm doing now, because I enjoy it so much and it gives me so much freedom. And if I had that background and experience and education that I have now, I would apply it even more. And then I'd have even more time to write more books.
There you go. Maybe you can get to like John Maxwell level, have like 80 books out and whatnot.
Exactly. Yeah, he's quite prolific in his book writing, for sure.
Well, all righty. For those who want to keep in touch with you and especially be notified when your next book comes out, I believe it's The Third Career on December 15th, right?
Yes. My third career, like I said, I had 3 careers. My third career from educator to entrepreneur. So I was a teacher first. That's my first career. Then I was a salesperson. That was my second career. And an entrepreneur, that's my third career. So I tell the story of how I started as the most unlikely entrepreneur and went through the whole process until going through 2 careers before I found my third career. Yes. So to get in touch with me, the best thing to do is to look me up on LinkedIn or Facebook, Pamela Hilliard Owens. All my contact information is there. Or you can email me at P as in Paul, H as in Harry, Owens, P-H Owens, O-W-E-N-S, at Team Owens, T-E-A-M, Team Owens 313online.com. Team Owens 313 is the name of the umbrella company because my husband and I, we just celebrated our 20th wedding anniversary. We are a team, and the area code for Detroit is 313. So that's where we got the name from, Team Owens 313, online.com.
Oh, that is amazing right there. Congrats on 20 years of being together.
Thank you.
That is awesome, especially nowadays. That some folks can't even be together for 20 minutes. So
That's true. That's true.
Woo! So go out there, folks, and follow the wonderful Pamela and be on the lookout for that upcoming book and check out her podcast as well. She has some guests dropping some heat as well, especially if you're an entrepreneur or looking to become an entrepreneur. It is one heck of a good podcast to follow, and follow this wonderful lady too. So
Thank you. Yes, we are on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, YB2C, YB the number 2, YB2C Live. And you can find us on iTunes and Spotify. YB2C Live, the podcast for entrepreneurs.
Woohoo! Beautiful. So any parting words for those still listening?
Well, just find me. I would love to hear from you. I would love to work with you. I would love for you to subscribe to my podcast and just make a decision, number one. And then, it's another cliche, write your plan, plan it out, and then work that plan every single day. And because if you know what your goal is and you know what you're working towards and you know what steps you have to take to reach that goal, and get up every single day knowing the day is going to be the best day of your life personally and professionally, and make it so. In the words of the great Captain Jean-Luc Picard, make it so.
Hey there, buddy. Looks like you made it to the end of this episode. Since you made it to the end of this episode, do both of us a favor and stop being greedy. Stop it right now and share this episode with your friends and your fellow podcast lovers.